Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man wala. Amma ba'du. Then we are on our fifth page in Juz Amma, which contains Surah Al-Qari'ah wa Surah At-Takathur. And before we begin, I just want to make a note about the i'rab, or the grammar of these ayat, especially these today, but in general those that we have been covering. In general, i'rab is broken up into two types of, or the grammar, it comes from two types of sentences. So we have a jumla ismiya, a nominal sentence that begins with a noun which has a mubtada and a khabar. And you have a jumla fi'liya, a verbal sentence, a sentence that begins with a verb, and then we have a fi'l and a fa'il, and sometimes a maf'ulun bihi. Now, when speaking sentences, we don't always make such simple sentences such as Muhammad Jamil, Muhammad is beautiful. And sometimes we don't make such simple sentences such as Akala Ahmadu al-Ka'ka. For example, Ahmed ate the cake. Sometimes we have conditions, and Ahmed ate the cake when he came home, but before that, and we have sentences that consist like this. So many times your mubtada will be a word, and then there will be a whole lot of other words here, right? And this word could be a mubtada, and then this word could be a mubtada, as an example, and then this word is a condition, or this word is therefore your subject, and this subject and mubtada is the subject of this mubtada. Hopefully I'm not confusing you. And this subject and mubtada is the subject of this mubtada. So the sentences can get quite confusing. And so we are not trying to cover all of this in detail. Rather, what we are doing is trying to give you the position of the sentence in the word, and the sign of it being that, in hopes that it will make some sense and make it easier for you to understand and to memorize. But as far as going into the depth of this, and many times there are options and disagreements. The people of Kufa will differ with the people of Basra, with the people of Baghdad, so on and so forth, with what is meant, especially if something is, say, mahdhuf, if something is dropped. If something is dropped or something is hidden, right, then there is a difference of opinion of what they mean. And so because of that, we're not trying to cover all of that. For instance, there's a word that comes today. It is la tas'alunna in Surah Al-Kawthar. La tas'alunna, and there is a whole page or more written about it. And many of our words that we have had whole pages or half pages written about it. And then there are also points of benefit written about it, where they say this is why this is, so on and so forth. So we're not trying to go into the grammar and that depth, but we are trying to, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, just understand a basic grammar so that we can, like I said, understand what we're reading, and as well help us to memorize with the correct vowelization on the ends of the words. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we'll start, inshallah ta'ala, with Surah Al-Qari'ah. Surah Al-Qari'ah. We see here that Al-Qari'ah is majroor. It has a kasra on that ta marbuta because it is mudaf ilayh, like the rest of the surahs that we've gone over. Surah Al-Qari'ah. Qari'ah comes from qaf ra ain, meaning to knock or to rap. Like it could be to knock or to rap on someone's door, and it has the meaning of all of a sudden And here, Al-Qari'ah, coming from that root, is the meaning or a name of the Day of Judgment. If Amir and Abu Muhammad have microphones, I will open them, inshallah ta'ala. Right? It is the meaning or it is a name of Yawm al-Qiyamah, Al-Qari'ah. And they say it means the calamity, that which is striking fear, right? The surah of the calamity, or it might also be translated as something else, I'm not sure, in the different translations. But the translation I have here in front of me says the calamity or the striking, right? The striking hour, like when you strike on a door, when you knock on it. So this is the meaning of Al-Qari'ah, the striking hour or the calamity. Something, if it knocks real quick, if you were in your house and something, it would startle you. If someone beat on your door, that's the idea, not the meaning, but the idea of Al-Qari'ah. It's going to happen and it's going to strike all of the sudden. Surah Al-Qari'ah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Al-Qari'ah. And here we have Al-Qari'ah 2. Al-Qari'ah 2. And this is what we were saying in the beginning of the class, that those who want to go back and listen to the first few minutes, because there wasn't anyone in the room, but I don't know if anyone's coming, so I started. Where we talk about grammar being quite detailed. Grammar being quite detailed. And that sometimes there is a mubtada, and inside of the khabar is another mubtada, and inside of that khabar of that mubtada is another mubtada, so on and so forth, right? And the sentences get quite complex. We're not trying to cover all of that because it's quite difficult, and if you don't understand Arabic grammar, then you may not understand it. And I mean, if you don't understand Arabic, then it would be difficult to understand in the first place. So Al-Qari'ah 2 here is a mubtada. In the first ayah here, it is a mubtada. It is marfu', and its sign of being marfu' is the dhamma, right? That you can clearly see, right? Ma al-Qari'atu. Ma al-Qari'atu. Ma here is a ismu istifham. Ism istifham, a word which asks a question, right? And it is in a position of being a mubtada, right? And it is in a position of being marfu' as a mubtada. Now the question becomes, what happened to the khabar of this mubtada, which is what we were talking about in the beginning. We have a mubtada, we must have a khabar, but then we come right away with a mubtada, right? Another mubtada. So what happens? So he says, what? Al-Qari'ah. Ma al-Qari'ah. Right? What is Al-Qari'ah? Al-Qari'ah here is the khabar of ma, which is your mubtada, and it is marfu', as we can see the dhamma there. Right? It is marfu', as we can see the dhamma there. And ma al-Qari'ah is the khabar of the first Al-Qari'ah. So we have Al-Qari'ah is your mubtada, for example. Then ma is your mubtada. Al-Qari'ah is your khabar. And this together is the khabar of Al-Qari'ah. Al-Qari'ah, and what is Al-Qari'ah? Right? Al-Qari'ah, the striking hour or the calamity. What is Al-Qari'ah? Right? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْقَارِيَةُ. And what will make you know what is Al-Qari'ah? Wa is harfu atf. Right? Wa is a harful atf, meaning here and. Right? Ma here is istifham. Ma here is istifham. And it is also your mubtada. We'll write it small there, right? Mubtada, mean for the mubtada. Adraka. Huh?
Oh, it's open already? I'm sorry, I was talking to my son.
Adraka comes from, as we said, adra, right? Or dara, adra, meaning to know. This is a fil madi. This is a fil madi, which is mabni al-fath adra. But because of this ya, we do not say this adriya, because it would be difficult to say. So they just say adra, right? So the fatha is hidden on that alif, right? The fa'il, whenever we have a verb, we have to have a fa'il. The fa'il is hidden, mustatir, and it is given the estimation or the taqdir of huwa. What will make you know? Kaf is a damir, or what is the fa'il? What is going to make you know? From adra, meaning to know, right? Or to make to know. Al-kaf here is your, meaning you, and it is mansub because it is the maf'ulun bihi, but it is mabni, so we never get to see the sign of mansub, whether it is there. That fatha here is the sign of it being mabni al-fat, but it is. And what will make you know? Ma al-Qari'ah, right? Ma al-Qari'ah, right? So now we have ma here. What is Al-Qari'ah? This is a mubtada again. This is a mubtada again. Ma, what? Al-Qari'ah. Al-Qari'ah is your khabar, right? Is your khabar to ma, right? What will make you know what is the striking hour, the calamity? What will make you know what that is, right? And this sentence, or this, and this sentence, ma al-Qari'ah, right, is in a position of being mansub. It's a position of being mansub. Why? Because it is the object of what will make you know. Make you know what? Ma al-Qari'ah. So it is maf'ulun bihi to this, right? It is the maf'ulun bihi to adra. And wa ma adraka, or adraka ma al-Qari'ah, is the khabar to this mubtada. And this is why I said it gets very difficult. This is why I said it gets very difficult. So here we had a mubtada, which was ma. Then we had adra, which is a verbal sentence. So it began a new sentence. So we'll put a line there for a sentence. And we had up there we had a mubtada. Then we had adraka ma al-Qari'ah, which was another beginning of a sentence. Then we had ma, which is another sentence, right? And so inside of this we had a mubtada and a khabar. So this mubtada and khabar were the khabar for this, right? Were the maf'ulu bihi for this, and then this whole sentence was the khabar for this sentence, and so it becomes very difficult. Are you guys understanding the difficulty of it?
Yeah, we see a difficult level, but I have a question.
Fadal.
I studied these things a long time ago, but I forgot some things. So the jumla ismiya and the jumla fi'liya can both take the place of another position. So in this case, you have the adraka takes the place of the it takes place of the khabar of ma.
The whole thing takes the place of the khabar of ma. But yes, and that's what I was saying. We have adraka here. You have a ma al-Qari'ah, as we discussed, is a jumla ismiya. Ma is a ism, right? It's a jumla ismiya. Ma al-Qari'atu is a jumla ismiya. We have a mubtada, ma, and a khabar, al-Qari'ah. It is together maf'ulun bihi. Together, ma al-Qari'atu, even though it itself is a mubtada and a khabar, together it is maf'ulun bihi, to adraka, right? It is the object of the verb, and it make you know what? Make you know ma al-Qari'ah. So together it is a maf'ulun bihi. In this sentence together, the fa'il, the fi'l, the fa'il, and the maf'ulun bihi together become the khabar of ma. And so this is why I was saying inside of this, basically we have three sentences. Ma al-Qari'ah is a sentence. Adraka ma al-Qari'ah is a sentence. And wa ma adraka ma al-Qari'ah is a sentence. And so this is what I was saying in the beginning of the class. We're not going to go into the extreme depths and all the possibilities of every one of these. I actually have a book of I'rab of Quran that the i'rab of the Quran is 15 volumes, 15 big volumes, meaning 15 600 page volumes, right? And it's a big set. And inside of each of these, they're going to differ. And they say, no, not really. Adra is not really that here. It means this here. And it's going to go into a big difference of opinion between the different schools of i'rab and so on and so forth. And so, like I said in the beginning, we want to try to make it as easy as possible while having some understanding of the grammar, because when you can understand the position of a word in a sentence, then you'll understand it's supposed to be marfu', such as this is the khabar marfu', so you remember that there's a dhamma there, right? And so it'll be easier to understand and easier to memorize. But yes, exactly. يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث. Yoma. Yoma here is a dharf zaman. It means the day. It's talking about the day. What is Al-Qari'ah? It's the day, right? It is dharf zaman mansoob, as we can see here. And that's what a dharf zaman is usually, mansoob. Yawma yakunu nasu kal farash al mabthuth. Yakunu is a fi'l mudari'. Yakunu is a fi'l mudari'. It is marfu' wa a dhamma, right? Yakunu nasu, and nas is a ismu yakunu, ismu kana, ismu yakunu, marfu', right? Because ismu kana is marfu' wa khabaru kana is mansub. Yakunu nasu kal farashil mabthuth, right? That the people will be, right? The people will be kal farashi. Ka is a harf jar. It's a preposition, meaning like, meaning like or similar to, right? It makes the noun following it majroor, right? Makes the noun following it majroor. So kal farashi. Farash comes from fa ra shin, and it means here farash means butterflies or moths, right? Butterflies or moths, either one. Kal farashi al mabthuth. Al mabthuth, right? Mabthuth comes from the root bath, right? Bath. When there's a bath, for instance, if you ever watch Mecca on the internet, or if you have a satellite and you watch Salat in Mecca, or the TV channel for Mecca or Medina, in the corner of the screen it'll say Beth Mubashir, Beth Mubashir, meaning broadcast, meaning it's being spread around, right? And that's what the word Beth means, to be spread and scattered, right? So when they do the Beth, it means they're spreading what's happening here all around the world. So mabthuth is an adjective here. It's a siffa to al-farash. Al-farash being moths or butterflies, mabthuth being scattered around. Because both of them, if you watch the flight pattern of moths or butterflies, they just all kind of fly sporadically. Neither one of them fly like a bird where they're going somewhere. They just kind of float around wherever the wind kind of takes them. يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث. Right? Now you would say, where's ismu kana? We had yakunu. Where's khabaru kana? Right? This whole thing is going to be khabaru kana. The whole sentence is going to be khabaru kana, mansub. Right? We're going to say fi mahal al-nasb, khabaru yakunu. But that's this whole phrase here. And this is why I was saying the difficulty sometimes of, right, the grammar, or the complete, whatever, how complicated it can be. Yawma yakunu nasu kal farash al mabthuth, the day that the people will be like scattered moths, we'll say, because butterflies are pretty. It's not going to be pretty on that day, right? Kal farash al mabthuth. وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ. وَتَكُونُ, wow, harfu atf, again, meaning wa, and. Takunu, again, ismu not اسمه فعل مضارع مرفوع with a dhamma, right? As we can see that here. الجبال, and it is feminine. It is feminine because jibal is غير العاقل. It is without intellect. Versus nas has intellect, so we talk about it masculine. Jibal is plural. غير العاقل, we talk about it feminine form. Right? تكون الجبال. Jibalu is اسمه تكون or اسمه كان مرفوع. Right? كالإهن المنفوش. Again, we have kaf, which is harf jar, making the noun after it. مجرور. Al-Ihn is the meaning of suf or wool or cotton, right? Wool or cotton, right? Al-Ihn is this cotton or wool. Basically, Al-Ihn is majroor after this kaf. Manfush, coming from noon, fa, sheen. Noon, fa, sheen. And this has the meaning of puffed up, right? Puffed up or disheveled. I looked up and they said when you do, it's called carding. The action of doing it is called carding the wool, which makes it able to become thread. So they have the wool or they have the cotton and they start doing things in order to, they start scratching it and everything, stretching it out. Is no longer tight like it was on the plant. Rather, they start separating the fibers from one another so they can turn it into thread, so that they can sew with it or make material with it. And this is the meaning of manfush, that the mountains are going to be taken apart and fluffed up. And whereas mountains right now, they weigh a lot and they're heavy, they'll be manfush. They'll be taken apart and made into nothing, like cotton, like ruffled or carded cotton, right? And it is an adjective, right? So it must agree with al-ihn and being majroor, as we can see the kasra there. Are there any questions?
Carding, huh?
It's called carding, yes. They do, this is where there's machines. You can look it up online. I had to look it up because they want to understand it. So you look up what is carding of the wool. It takes it and it starts pulling it apart so that the fibers can be separated and turned into. Like if you take a cotton ball, you know, you can't do anything with that. You can't make clothes with that. So you have to take it apart and separate the fibers in order to turn it into thread. So this is the meaning of manfush. When they start separating it and taking it, then this cotton ball is going to become big, right? And it's going to be separated and made into like nothing. So it started out small and tight, right? And then it turned into something real big when it was separated, so it could be made into threads like this, right? وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْإِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ, and the mountains will be like carded wool, like puffed up and separated wool. فَأَمَّا, fa here is harf istinafiya. It is a meaning, it's a continuation, right? It is like a continuation, so or therefore, right? Amma is a harfu shart. Amma is a harf, right? Amma is a harf, and it means a condition. As for, so as for men is ismu shart, right? And it is a mubtada. As for the one who thaqulat, right? Men thaqulat. Thaqulat is a fi'l madi mabni al fath, right? And this ta is a ta ta'nith as-sakina. Men thaqulat mawazinu. So we said here we have a mubtada, just following in our line of what we're trying to show you in the difficulty of the i'rab of some of these sentences. So we have men thaqulat. Thaqulat is a fi'l madi mabni al fath, and the ta is a ta ta'nith as-sakina, right? What is the fa'il of this fi'l? Mawazinu. Mawazinu, right? Mawazinu is the fa'il here, right? His scales became heavy. Thaqulat, his scales became heavy. So mawazinu is your fa'il. That's what is becoming heavy, right? Or that is what is being heavy, right? And together, and mawazinuhu, who here is mudaf ilayh, majroor, right? And together,
question then
fadal.
is the so we go back to the verb thaqulat.
Thaqulat.
Is this passive voice?
This verb in and of itself is like a passive verb itself. You understand? Thaqula has the meaning of passivity in and of itself. But is it itself, is it majhul here? No. Right? Is it majhul? No. But it has the meaning of being majhul. You understand?
I think so.
As we'll see, there's certain verbs that have a meaning of, they automatically have the meaning of being passive. I can't think of any right now. But if we look into the next, verb here on the same sentence, basically, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَتْ, it's not passive here, and you can see obviously that it's not passive, right? Mawazin is the actual thing that is doing the becoming heavy, right? Thaqula, or being light. So it is the meaning of being it has a meaning of being passive, but it's not passive. Man thaqulat mawazinuhu, mawazin is your fa'il. Mawazinuhu is mudaf ilayh. So it's majroor, but it's mabni, so we don't get to see the sign of jar. So we have here, we have your fa'il, right? We have your fi'il, and we have your fa'il. So we have that here, right? Your fi'il and your fa'il. And then actually this is not maf'ulun bihi. I mean, this is not mudaf ilayh. This is maf'ulun bihi. Mawazinu hu, right? It is the no, I'm sorry. It is mudaf ilayh. It is mawazinuhu, his scales. It's idafa. So we have your fa'il and you have your fi'il. Fi'il and your fa'il, and together this fi'il and fa'il make your khabar to men. Right? فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُ. Thaqula meaning to become heavy. Mawazin is the plural of mizan. Right? Mizan. The plural of mizan. Your scales. So whoever's scales become heavy, فَهُوَ, then he is fa, harf istinafiyya, right? Huwa is the damir in the position of being marfu, in the position of being the mubtada. Then he is fi ishatin radiyah. Fi harf jar, the noun after being majroor, as we can see with the kasras. Isha means he's in a life. He's in a life, and it means he will be in a life, right? He's in a life. Isha from ain ya sheen. Aish, he's gonna be in a type of life. Radiyah. Radiyah is a sifa, right? It is a sifa. It is an adjective to Aisha, right? Aisha, and it is majroor, just like it, right? Fi Aishatin is called shibhu jumla. Shibhu jumla. It means it is a phrase, basically. Shibhu jumla. Shibhu jumla means it resembles a sentence. It's not a sentence, but it resembles a sentence, and it's in a position of being khabar. So the khabar of huwa is fi ishatin, or you could say fi ishatin radiyah is the khabar, right? So we have a phrase here which became the khabar. The khabar is not one word, and we had up above earlier the khabar was a whole sentence, and inside that khabar was another whole sentence. So we're not breaking down all the details of the i'rab here, because it would be very difficult, right? It would be on the Arabs, it's very difficult. And if you put two people knowledgeable of i'rab in a room and you told them write the i'rab of Surah Al-Qari'ah or many of these surahs, they would differ with one another and they would argue, no, this is this is that. So we're trying to present a simple fashion without going into the differences of opinion here, inshallah ta'ala. فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. This person, his scales are heavy, right? Who his scales are made heavy for him, then he will be in a pleasing life. Radiyah, like radiyallahu anhu, right? A pleasing life, right? Meaning in Jannah. وَأَمَّا مَنْ I think I'm gonna mute you, Abdullah.
That's me.
No, it's not you. Amir, is that you?
Maybe it's me.
Yeah, it might be Muhammad. You got a window down or something? وَأَمَّا مَنْ
It could be me.
There's you. وَأَمَّا مَنْ Wa is harf al-atf. وَأَمَّا harf al-shart, meaning it's a condition, right? وَأَمَّا مَنْ. And as for man who, and this is your mubtada. Just raise your hand, Akhi, if you want to say something. I'm going to mute you because you're very loud. You're very loud. So if you want to say something, you raise your hand, inshallah ta'ala, or type it, and I'll try to pull you in, inshallah. وَأَمَّا مَنْ. It's just making me yell louder and louder. خَفَّت. خَفَّت is fil madi, right? مبني على فتح. The ta is a ta'nith sakina. Mawazinuhu again is your fa'il, and huwa is mudaf ilay, majroor. So whoever scales or light, khaffa, right? Anyone who studied the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu with us, kalimatan, right? ثقيلتان في الميزان خفيفتان على اللسان. ثقيلة, heavy on the scales. خفيفة, on the tongue, light on the tongue. فأما من خفت موازينه, from خف, right? His scale is light. فأمه هاوية. فأمه هاوية. fa حرف استنافية, harf of continuation, right? Meaning so or therefore. Ummuhu. Ummuhu. Ummu is your mubtada. Ummu is your mubtada, right? It is marfu, as we can see there. Hu here is mudaf ilay. Ummuhu. Majroor. The ha here is mabni, but it's in a position of being majroor. For ummuhu. Then his mother is Hawiya. Hawiya is the khabar, marfu', as we can see the dhammas on there. Hawiya coming from ha, wow, ya, right? And here it means a depth of the hellfire, right? A depth or an abyss in the hellfire. Here it says his right? His mother. In the translation, it might say his abode. In the translation I have here in front of me, it says his abode. But they say that it's considered his mother, the one who scales or light, because the hellfire is going to enwrap him the way a mother does their baby. This hawiya, meaning his place or this deep place in Jahannam, is going to envelop him and wrap him and cover him up the way a mother does her child. So that's why they said it was ummu. Fa ummuhu hawiya. Then his place, but here his mother. His mother is going to be the hawiya, the place in, right, Jahannam, this deep place in Jahannam. Right? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ. And we can go back to the same grammar that we had above. Wa harfu atf. Ma is your mubtada, marfu', right? Adraka. Adra is a verb, right? Adra is a fil madi, right? Which was originally with a, and it still has that alif there, but we do not get to see any sign on that alif because of the difficulty of doing it. And then kaf is your maf'ulun bihi. What will make you know? Mahiya. 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 Here is another sentence. Ma is another mubtada. Right? Ma is another mubtada. Hiya. Its origin is hiya. What will make you know what it is? Hiya. But this ha is added at the end of it because you're stopping. Right? Because you're stopping and you don't want to say mahi. So they wrote it mahiya because they wanted you to pronounce the fatha there. And if it was written like this and you stopped, then you would say, well, ma adraka mahi, and you stop. But because of stopping and they want you to pronounce that fatha, they put that ha there. Mahiya. And what will make you know what it is? Mahiya. Mahi adraka mahiya is the khabar for ma. Right? Narun hamiya. Narun, and we know narun is a fire. Right? Narun is a fire, and it is the khabar. Right? It has a mubtada here, which they say is mahdhuf. Ma adraka ma hiya. What will make you know what it is? Hiya narun hamiya. Hiya narun. Hiya is your mubtada dropped. Nar is your khabar marfu'. Right? Khabar marfu'. Narun hamiya. Hamiya is a sifa for the hellfire. Sifa for the hellfire, right? And it means, hamiya means the extreme end that heat can be. Hamiya, the extreme end of the heat, right? As hot as it can be. Narun hamiya. In the translation I have here, what does it say? It says extremely scorching, but it has the meaning of the extreme end of the heat that there can be. Narun hamiya, the extreme end of the heat. Any questions?
No.
Oh, yeah. So, we do At-Takathur. We do Surah At-Takathur. Takathur is your mudaf ilay, majroor. As we can see here, it comes from the root ka, tha, ra. Right? Meaning to become a lot. Takathur. Right? It's form 6. Form 6. It's the masdar for form 6. Takathur. Right? The amassing or the gathering of a lot of things. At-Takathur would be the gathering or the amassing of a lot of things. And it's translated in the Quran as the vying or the competing for more. Right? The vying or the competing for more. And we know form 6 has to do with reciprocity where things go between one another, right? So he says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhaakumut takathur. Alha, right, comes from the root lahu, lam, how, ha, wow, meaning play and amusement, which are also distractions, right? There are distractions, play and amusement. So alhaakumu, alha is form 4 of this root. This is form 4, meaning that they are distracting you, right? At-Takathur, At-Takathur is distracting you. This gathering up, this competing and gathering, trying to have a lot of things is distracting. Alhaakum. Alhaakum here is your maf'ulun bi. It's distracting who? Distracting you. This dhamma here on the meme is for reading purposes, so we do not have two sukuns next to one another. At-Takathur is your fa'il because it is what is doing the distracting, right? The distracting. The gathering and competing and gathering things up is distracting you. Hatta, or will distract you, or is distracting you, or distracted you. Hatta zurtumul maqabir. Hatta zurtumu al maqabir. Hatta here has the meaning of al-ghaya, right? Harf ghaya means until, meaning ghaya meaning the goal, right? Until. Zurtum. Zurtum comes from zara yazuru, right? It's a past tense verb. Mebni ala sukun because of the ta. The ta here is your file. The meme shows that it is plural. Zurtum. The dhamma on this meme is again for reading purposes. Zara yazuru means to visit. Hatta zurtum, until you visited al-maqabir. Al-maqabir are the graves. The qabr, right? The qabr. The maqabir, and it is mansub because it's the maf'ulun bihi. Until you visit what? Until you visit the graves. So this distraction of gathering things. And it doesn't mean if this trying to have an abundance of, it doesn't matter if it's money or if it's children or if it's I don't have a lot of things, but I got a few really nice things. Right? Doesn't matter what it is. This trying to have an abundance of things or a great amount of things to brag about. It could be something praiseworthy, or it could be something that could be praiseworthy, but you use it in a blameworthy manner, such as books. Maybe you just collect books, so people say, "Oh man, that dude's got a nice library." Man, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that, right? This could be anything. It could be he collects a lot of ijazas, so that people say he's got a lot of ijazas. He goes and he travels to a lot of different mashayikh, so people can say he's got a lot of shuyukh. It could be anything which is not used for the sake of Allah. Hatta zurtumul maqabir, until you visit the graves. Kalla. Kalla is a harf zajr, meaning it's like nay, it's not going to happen. No, never. Sawfa ta'lamun. Sawfa is a harf taswif, is a harf showing us the future. This is going to be something that's going to happen in the future. Sawfa ta'lamun. Ta'lamun is a fil mudari' marfu', and the sign of it being marfu' is the presence of the noon. Right? The presence of the noon. The file is the wow here, showing it is a group of people. Ta'lamun. Right? No, nay, sawfa ta'lamun. They are going to know. They are going to know. Meaning those people who gather up stuff for the sake of gathering it and competing in gathering, they are going to know. Thumma kalla sawfa ta'lamun. Thumma is a harf atf, right? Harf atf means like wow. It's connecting something. It shows an order. This and then that, right? And it's not like fat. Sometimes fat can be meaning right away. This and then that. Thumma has the meaning of tarahi, meaning it doesn't have to happen right away. This one came, and then this one came, and then this one came. But maybe there were 30 minutes in between each of them coming. Versus this one, fa, right? Is that clear? The difference. Thumma doesn't mean right away, but it is in order. Kalla sawfa ta'lamun. Again, this kalla is the same. Harfu zajr. Right? No. Sawfa, harf tasweef. It's the future. Ta'lamun. They're going to know. Fil mudari. They're going to know. They're going to know. Right? Now, some of the people say that this sentence here is meant, the reason for its repetition is for emphasis. They are going to know. They are going to know. Then again, no, they are going to know. Or nay, they are going to know. Like emphasis. But some of the scholars say that this, like we said, just to have emphasis very few times, just as a matter of emphasis, very few times has a place. So rather they say, Sawfa ta'lamun fil qabr. He's going to know in his grave. Thumma kalla sawfa ta'lamun. And then no, he's going to know, or they're going to know, meaning on the day of judgment. They're going to find out in their qabr they were wrong. And then on the day of judgment, again, they're going to know even more that they were wrong. Right? Kalla, nay. Nay, again, this K. Kalla is harf zajr. Low. Low is a word of condition, a harf of a condition, meaning if this happens, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will happen. لو تعلمون علم اليقين. And if they were to know, تعلمون في المضارع مرفوع with the noon there, right? The noon being there. The file is the wow, meaning showing it's a group of people. And if they know, or when you know, because it's not them, it's they, or it's you. تعلمون with a ta. I've been saying they, but it means you guys. I'm sorry. You will know. كلا سوف تعلمون. You will know. ثم كلا سوف تعلمون. Then you will know. كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين. Then no or nay. If you knew علم اليقين. علم here is مفعول مطلق. What does that mean? It is your maf'ul, but it is derived from the same as the verb that it is basically describing or whatever. Ilm. Ta'lamun ilma. So it is mansub as a maf'ul, right? And is mutlaq because it's from the same verb, right? And it is mansub with a fatah here, right? It's telling you the type of knowledge. Ilm al yaqeen. Yaqeen is mudaf ilay, majroor. And if you had the knowledge, and if you knew the knowledge of certainty, the knowledge of certainty. So here we have levels. We have ta'lam, we have ilm, and then we have ilmu yaqeen, right? Ilmu yaqeen. We have knowledge, and we have knowledge of certainty. So some things we know, and some things we're definitely 100% certain about them, right? And if you had this certain knowledge, if you knew with certain knowledge, لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمِ. لَتَرَوُنَّ. This is a word which is one of those words which is very difficult to explain the grammar of it, right? We have ra'a, yara, right? We have tarawna, right? We have tarawna. That means you see. Tarawna, right? Tarawna. But what happened here? We added a noon, at-tawkeed, al-mushaddada here, right? We added a noon, at-tawkeed, al-mushaddada, right? And usually the letter before that is mansub. And also that gives us now 3 noons. And so this word itself becomes difficult. The main thing we need to know as far as the breakdown of it, it comes from ra'a, yara, tarawna, meaning you will see, right? You will see, or you will see. And this lam here is basically an emphasis for us at this point. La tarawna. And this noon is also the emphasis, right? And how the word came to be without the other noon and all that, don't worry about it right now, because it's a long grammatical explanation, right? Tarawna. Tarawna al-jahim. And when you see al-jahim, right? Al-jahim, see what? Al-jahim, meaning the hellfire, right? From Jim Ha Mim is the hellfire. When you see the hellfire, and it is maf'ulun bihi, right? Then you will see the hellfire, meaning you will have this sure, this certain knowledge when you see the hellfire, right? ثم لترونها عين اليقين. ثم, when you see it, tarawna. Thumma, and then, as we said, this harfu atf, and it means tartib, it means in order, but not necessarily right away. Lam here, the lam of Ephesus, tarawnaha, again, we have that same complex situation here with the noon of the noon of emphasis, noon of tawkeed. La tarawnaha, meaning al-jahim. Tarawnaha, you will see what? Al-jahim. Then when you see it, عين اليقين. عين اليقين. Aina here, and there are many descriptions for it. How are you going to see it? The hal, the condition of how you're going to see it, with your eye. With your eye. So it is mansoob. Ain al-yaqeen, mudaf ilay, majroor. Ain al-yaqeen, meaning with the eye of certainty. So we have, and I erased it on accident, we have ilm, then we have ilm al-yaqeen, right? Ilm al-yaqeen. And then we have Ain al-Yaqeen. Right? And we put Alif Lam on these. Ain al-Yaqeen. So each one of these becomes a deeper level of knowledge. Right? A deeper level. You have Ilm al-Yaqeen. Right? And then Ain al-Yaqeen. Once you actually see something. So you read about something. Man, that's nice. Then you've seen a picture of it. Now you have certainty of it. But when you see it with your own eye in person is much more certain about how that thing is. ثُمَّ لَتَرَوُنَّهَا عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. And then you will see it with the eye of certainty. ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. ثُمَّ حرف عطف. Again, it benefits us, the tartib, the order of something. It's going to happen after that previously, right? After you have seen it for sure with your eyes, and now you know. Thumma, then latus'alunna. And again, here, this is a difficult word because tus'alunna is actually, right? Tus'alunna. Tus'alunna. Tus'aluna. Right? And then we added the noon of tawqid. Right? We added the noon of tawqid. What happened to our waw? Why did our waw leave? We can't drop a waw. The waw is the file. The waw is showing us who's doing it. So how do we drop the file? And we have a... Don't worry about all that. Just know that tus'alunna is a present tense verb. Marfu' with a dhamma. This noon is the noon of tawqid. This lam, basically the lam of emphasis for us right now. ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ. And then you will be asked. Not tas'alun, you will ask, but tus'alun. Here it is majhul. You will be asked. You will be asked. Yawma idhin. Yawma is a dharf. Dharf is a man, mansoob. Idh. This idh was originally idh. Idh, right? Was originally with the alif there, or with the hamza like that. Idh. Right? We've seen it like that before, but this is a combination. Yawma idhin. Idh here is a dharf, and it's mabni ala sukun. Yawma idhin. But it is mudaf ilay. Right? Yawma idhin. Right? That day. The day when, right? You will be asked about on that day, anin na'im. Asked about an. Harf jar. Na'im ismu majroor. Na'im are any blessings that you have. Any blessings. You will be asked about the blessings you have. You will be asked about the things that you gathered. You will be asked about your children. You will be asked about your wealth. Maybe you have a lot of kids. Just so you can say, I had a lot of kids. Inshallah, I'll open it in 1 second, akhi. I have a lot of kids. MashaAllah. That brother's got 15 kids. That brother's got 8 kids. MashaAllah. You only had kids, so people say, MashaAllah, he had kids. You didn't do it for Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? You gathered up kids. You gathered up wives. You got married just so people could say you had more than one wife. Whatever the case might be, these ni'am, these children, these books, this wealth, these wives, this anything you have, you're going to be asked about. Even if you didn't do it in a bad way. Even if you did it in a good way. Even if you gathered books for Allah. Even if you had children for Allah. If you got married for Allah. Even the cold ice water that you drink, you're going to be asked about it on that day. Yawma idhin. I'm going to open up the mic for Abu Muhammad and anyone else who has questions. Fadda. Wow. Any questions?
Yeah, can you say that again about the Tus Aluna?
Tus'alunna was originally, and this is the hard part, Tus'alunna. Right? Tus'alunna.
The wow dropped.
Then we have a Nun at-Tawkid. Right? So we should have 3 noons where we got 2 here. And then we have a wow, which is your fa'il. Right? Which is your fa'il. How do you drop the fa'il? Right? It's part of the word. Wow. The wow is never dropped from the af'al al-khamsa. So why is it dropped here? It's a long whole page discussion on that. Right? Due to the Nun at-Tawkid and due to this and that. Normally it doesn't get dropped, but here is dropped. Right? Because of the real reason is because of the 2 sukoons, right? We have tas'aluna, we have a sukoon there, and on this first noon here, right, we drop this noon because of the Nun at-Tawkid, At-Thaqilah, but this noon has 2 noons. One of them has a fatha, but the first one has a sukoon, and so if I do that, then I have 2 sukoons next to each other. So then I drop my weak letter, even though it's my fa'il, and I normally don't do that. And so it becomes like this, but that becomes rather complicated.
But then they leave the wow there to help you remember that it was there.
They leave the dhamma there,
the dhamma.
the dhamma there to help you remember that it was there, correct. Right? Instead of making it a fatha, because normally before the Nun at-Tawkid, it's mansub or mabni ala fatha. But here they left the dhamma because the Nun at-Tawkid to remember the wild mist, and it's a big discussion. Fadal.
All right, my question was basically the same because we have this anin na'im.
No.
Is the anin that kesra is also because of iltiqa sakinain?
The kasr on ain is for the iltiqa sakinain. You have that kasr there, just like al-hakamu, that dhamma is there for, and that zurtumu, that dhamma is there for iltiqa sakinain, the meeting of the 2 sukoons. So this one here is for the meeting of the 2 sukoons, right? And this dhamma is left there because of the wow, and that's what I said. It becomes rather complex of how it happens. So I don't try to, bog you down with all of that discussion, right? Any other questions about the meanings or the words, what they mean, or the order, or anything like this? طيب. Inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow we'll meet with, right, al-zalzala and al-adiyat. And al-adiyat, al-zalzala, this page, as we can see, it doesn't start at the top, and al-adiyat leads over into the next page 1 line. So again, we have almost a whole page, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. We're going to try. Eventually, we're probably going to have to go to a half a page just due to, or 3/4 of a page due to the amount of text. But inshallah, we'll figure it out. As you can see, this page here has a lot of writing, a lot of small words. Whereas some of the pages earlier, right, like At-Takathur, it's much more spaced out, right? So it has much less words on the page. So it's easier to describe this. We got, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whereas if we go up a page, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 words on 1 line. So the script is much more compact. As we can see, this is tighter than this. So it's going to take more explanation for the same amount of lines. طيب. Inshallah ta'ala, I hope you guys are benefiting. And if you have any questions, then I show up at 1:30 if you guys want to ask, or at 5:30 or 15 minutes before we start. If you got any questions about today, tomorrow, or whatever, then I'll be here in 15 minutes early for you guys if you guys need it. Jazakumullah khairan.
Where you located? You said 1:30.
I'm in Kuwait.
Okay.
No, I'm in Kuwait. So, inshallah ta'ala, we're here. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us sincere in whatever it is that we gather and make it for His face alone, not for any other ulterior motives. And we ask Him to make the day that we'll be asked about these ni'am that we have, these blessings that we have been given, and these nice iftars that we have, and these nice suhoor meals that we drink with ice cold juice and fresh dates and spices in our meals, and air conditioned masjids with soft carpet, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make that day easy upon us. Make that day easy upon us, and to make this fasting of ours during these days a source of benefit and of pushing away the harm that we cause ourselves through our sins. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.